Hi, welcome back. Kayla Henry is our guest today. Welcome back for the deeper dive version of 26 Minutes with. Again, the show that honors those who are leading, making an impact, and creating positive change on the planet and locally. If you didn't tune in for the 26 Minutes with, Kayla is an artist who shares her forthright poetry. Her work exposes inconvenient truths and encourages independent thought. Her work has been shared worldwide, allowing her to connect with the many people who resonate with her unapologetic expression. Kayla has published 2 poetry collections under her belt, and these works feature a critique of Western society and offers actionable solutions, inspiring perspectives, as well as revealing the traps of fear and conformity. And Kayla, from reading your latest poetry and work in your new book called Effing the System,
Mhm.
I, I also sense there's a teacher in you. So, your teaching is, about helping us to wake up and look deeper
Mhm.
at our lives, but also at the various narratives that we've been exposed to as well for the past 3 years. Is that also, part of who you are? You're in the, like, you're an artist, you're a writer, a poet. You act, you perform music. Communication to me is all about teaching. Is that another influence for you in your own work and path?
Yeah, I I just think the more we learn to communicate with each other on a healthier level, the more we're actually gonna solve problems. Because like I was saying in the previous 26 minutes, well, we fuel our conversations by ego rather than just trying to get to the bottom of things, get to the truth. So we need to just calm down. And I think a lot of my poetry, especially the way I formatted this new book, it's got a progression. It starts with a lot of poetry that's, critiquing Western society, and there's a lot of, I guess, negativity. And then as the book goes on, I start talking about perspective and influence and childhood, and so it's kind of guiding the reader down a healthier thought pattern rather than just getting stuck in the negative aspects. Well, okay, we know that there's problems. Well, now what are we going to do about it? It
Yes.
needs to be actionable.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know about you, but the past, few years, I've watched the odd truther video. Uh
Mhm.
and what I find is that it keeps you in a loop of helplessness.
Yeah.
I know they mean well and they're going against the system, but there's a helplessness.
Yeah.
I like the fact that your book, and you talk about actions and actionable things we can do to make a difference, to improve, and you're almost like a troubadour of reflection and insight.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're speaking out, and you're saying, hey, here's what's going on, but on the other hand, then here's what can be done.
Yeah.
There's hope. Is that, is that your true nature coming out too? Is like that hope, even though things are looking pretty messy, there's a hope in you.
Oh, for sure. I mean, listen, I'm still young and I'm not so bitter, but I do see a lot of beauty in the world, and especially since sharing my poetry, I've connected with a lot of wonderful souls, wonderful people. And y- you can't ignore the electricity, the magnetic nature of people who are just living honest lives and being down to earth. So it's powerful. You can't ignore it.
And when you say, connecting with others, leading honest lives, like, where are they? Where are they working? What are they doing? What things are they bringing to the planet right now, or to community?
A lot of these people are starting families, raising their children, which is one of the biggest impacts you can have on society, is raising your children right. A lot of people are kind of making small communities, learning how to garden and become more autonomous. That's what people are doing. You're not going to see them hanging out in the big cities. I feel like a lot of people who are on the same boat are living quieter, more down to earth lives. So that's where you'll find them. Walk into the woods for a while, and that's where they are.
All right, I'm going to now. Okay, just because of you.
Yeah.
I sense too, that your work does have that deeper. Your work is deeper than just the words. It's encouraging, again, the reader or the viewer, or as per your YouTube post, the viewer, to think and have independent thoughts and go deeper than just the headlines.
Yeah.
That's a key part of your mission.
Yeah.
You know, who is that? And we talked about, working with youth, and really appealing to youth, and that also too is big to you. But is there another sort of element of the population you want to say, hey, here, here's something else to consider, here's something, another way of being, or another possibility? Is it young adults starting families, or is it for the older generation, the boomers, or the 60 pluses? Like, who do you really want to feel like, I really want to make a difference with this group?
I think mostly for myself, I have the tendency to connect with people who are just slightly older than me, just because of the maturity aspect, I suppose. But I do like to connect with folks who are in my generation, because I do feel like there's a lot of commonalities to draw from. A lot of people are in the same boat, and so I have the ability to empathize with situations. In my age group, everyone's just starting to get their careers going, figuring out, oh, what are they going to do with their time? Am I going to start a family? All these questions are very much in this particular age group, so I definitely connect with that. But also, self-knowledge has no age limit
Mhm.
either. So whether you're 80 years old, you can still take the time to.
To learn something.
It's important.
Yeah. Real quick, is there, like, in creating this, your work, and this new book, Hacking the System, the book of poetry, do you have like, where does your own spirituality come into play?
Mm, that's a difficult question. I suppose that just when I'm writing poetry, that's kind of just a reflection of my spirituality, just my belief in getting the most out of yourself. That's what I kind of value. That's my greatest value, is becoming the best version of yourself you can be. So that's where my spirituality comes in, I suppose, is just self-reflection is the greatest connection to the spiritual as you can get.
Yeah. And I agree. I feel like we've witnessed sort of like almost a tearing down of everything
Hmm.
last 3 years, and we need to build it up and build each other up. But most important, we need to build ourselves up. We have to come to a place of reflection and how can I be better? How can I make a difference? Rather than just sitting on the sidelines. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think what I was saying before is pretty poignant in the sense that the more people are working on themselves on their own time internally, the more we can have healthier connections outside, the more we can connect with people, because the better self-knowledge we have and the more we're improving on ourselves, the more we offer to our communities, to our society. So that's the biggest thing we can do with our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you okay to share the poem Running Paradox?
Yeah, sure.
Because this is also, again, really, yeah, says a lot.
Here we go. So Running Paradox goes, fear nature, wild things in the wood. Fear nature, vegetation that could kill you in an instant or give you a rash brushing against your skin while you're walking past. Yes, run to the concrete, the buzz, and the dust. Succumb to bad habits, excess, and lust. Seek thrills made of plastic and love built on lies. Easy access to pills so your troubles may hide while you work to pay off those stale chicken coops stacked one on the other, wishing you could just mute the noise outside and the rattle in your head, but at least round the corner you're easily fed. As you complain about farmers and methane and gas, you fume in your traffic, chemically de-weed your grass, and you lather your skin with big corp perfumes, recline to screen flashes of doom and gloom. Then parade as a citizen, shout just what you should. But fear nature. Fear nature. It's for your own good.
Yeah, and we're seeing that, right? Farms are being compromised all over the world, not just in Canada and US, but Denmark. The farmers held rallies, like some
Yeah.
trucker convoy we had here in Ottawa. I guess it would have been about a year and a half ago. So and you also bring up fear and this notion of fear, and fear is really it's controlling. It
Yeah.
controls us, and then we become compliant. And so talk to us about your view on fear and compliancy and losing our fear.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we can ever lose
Mm,
fear. Fear is something that comes naturally to humans as a survival instinct.
yeah.
So rather than trying to get rid of it completely, we need to take control of it. Figure out when fear is being fueled by something true or whether fear is being fueled by some sort of masquerade, media, the next big crumbling of society, or what's the next plague that's going to hit us. We need to kind of tap into our innate ability to sense fear rather than the fear that is pushed upon us.
Yeah. And as we said earlier in 26 Minutes with, it just seems like it's almost nonstop
Yeah.
for the past 3 years. And what that leads to is compliancy,
Yeah.
questioning, and it also leads to a collective trauma that's happening.
Yeah.
We're
I
already
think it's
with our own trauma. Now we've got this collective trauma.
exactly. It's for me, it seems it's by design.
Mhm.
We never get a break. We're always bombarded with information, and media is always saying, well, this is the new thing you should be scared of. Well, when with all that going on, when do we actually have the time to think about what's going on internally? Because we're so focused on the external tragedies and threats.
Yeah. And then to do our own work, our own inner healing work.
Yeah.
and to come to a place of self-love and forgiveness.
Yeah.
Do you feel too at the center of your message that you want to bring about true healing to those you reach as well? Do you see yourself as a healer? Because I do. I think your messages are healing and your work is healing.
Yeah, there's nothing more healing than the truth. It's the thing that has liberated me the most in my life is understanding what is real and understanding what is fabricated. And that's part of healing is acknowledging reality and then sitting back and saying, well, am I going to be pessimistic or am I going to be optimistic? And how am I going to pave this path for myself that's going to keep me focused on living a good life and having that optimism rather than falling into pessimism that just, well, it keeps us stagnant. We become complacent.
Last question. What lessons have you learned about yourself? What have you learned and discovered about yourself these past 3 years? As you've stepped into this new version of you?
Yeah.
And this, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. What have you learned about yourself?
I've learned that throughout my whole life, I have been writing. I've always been writing poetry, but I never realized how my poetry was speaking to me. I realized that when I write something down, it is because there's something going on within that I'm trying to communicate to myself. So I've learned to listen and trust my writing on a very, very deep level. I've learned that my relationships are very, very important to me. And the way I navigate them is very important because I have people in my life who may not agree with the general messages I'm sending, but it doesn't mean I need to burn bridges. It means I need to focus on the things we do have in common and the values we do share to progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, general lessons is just trying to live a life that's based on finding peace rather than riding highs and lows.
Wow. Really, you really are an incredible young woman. I'm so glad that you said yes to my interview request. In that sense, thank God for social media because I saw it on Facebook.
There are positives, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
I just have one last quick question. We talked about media
Sure.
before. I have a media background as well. And truthfully, I've lost respect for the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked in media. I've had my own show for 7 years. I went to school for it. And your work and your words allude to the media machine. What would you like to see shift moving forward? Because I've lost faith and trust in it.
Yeah, I don't think we can really regain control necessarily of the media. What we can do is learn how to think critically and encourage the next generation to think critically because media, I mean, it's always going to be there. So what we need to focus on is having the tools to navigate it. And I think just an emphasis on critical thinking needs to be pushed.
Yeah, and shutting it off when you need to.
Yeah.
When it becomes too much.
Yeah.
Oh, this was just a joy, Kayla. Thank you for this.
Thanks, David.
Where do we reach you to buy the book and support you and your work?
So the easiest way to find me is just going on my website. So it's Kayla Henry, which is my name, online.com. You'll find links to my socials there and my books. So KaylaHenry online.com.
.ca or .com?
.com.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And of course you're on social media too. They want
Yeah.
just I'm a big fan. Keep up the good work. Know that you've got people that you might not even know are out there that are supporting you. So just keep doing it. I'd like to see what you what's next for you, like in a year from now, where you're at and what you're doing.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to see where I go.
I know it is, and that's good, and that's inspiring too for others. Like, we hear about youth that are, and I know that's one of your key, points that you want to, really, or a key group that you want to work with. And you hear about youth that are, committing suicide or just shutting off life. And it's important to have hope and instill that in them. So may we all continue to have hope, and may we, also, in our work, also give hope to others too. Yeah.
Of course.
Thank you so much. What a joy.
Thanks, David.
And thank you for listening to the Deeper Dive. We'll be back next week with Jody Dunn about we're looking into youth justice and youth reform. So stay in touch with the show. We have a community group on Facebook, or a page on Facebook for it, and also a group page on LinkedIn. Until then, have a great week.